I didn't know what you were doing. I mean, the hands were going there. I thought you were doing that teenage 6'7" nonsense.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I mean,
No.
hands are flipping around.
He's trendy.
It's you. Yeah. You're sitting out there in your big palatial estate. You don't drive into the city anymore because you're a big deal. You don't have to do that kind of stuff. And you just kind of
just sit here.
Yeah, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna enrage an entire NHL team fan base today.
Now, why is that? What, like, I haven't looked at social media, so I don't know what the comments or the feedback is. But but why is the fan base enraged? Enlighten me here.
Well, I'm just gonna. Again, we've started the show. It's already
Dreger's a fraud. Dreger doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah,
Dreger does something to go.
No, it's not so much that. It's we need Murray Edwards to sell the team. This team's never until Edwards is out. You know what? Just move the team. Just get them out. I can't handle any more of this. You went on your insiders thing there on the TSN, and you're like, yeah, I was talking to Murray Edwards. Well, you didn't say it that way. But it's like, if you're expecting a Nazem Kadri deal, I'd maybe pump the brakes because Murray Edwards loves the core of this team. This is what loves the core of this team. No trades, believes in this team, and people have lost their shit because they finally believe they believe that for once this team is not going to give you that. Well, maybe they're within 4 points. Well, trade deadline, they can't trade. Maybe that whole shit stuff that happens every year.
Right?
No, they're last in the league. Finally, everyone can look and not be confused. And then they hear you.
Well, in fairness, I was specific to Nazem Kadri. Now, I did say that he likes the core. I did say that. So I'm not going to retract that. And what I reported was that ownership has told people that they're not interested in trading Nazem Kadri. They're not trading Nazem Kadri. But we're having this conversation. What is it? The 7th of November. So I said that, you're right, on television, November 6th, 2025. Let the record indicate. Now, there's some caveats to this. Owners, managers, coaches, and players can change their mind. Look, it's a shock to no one that Nazem Kadri and his family love Calgary, right? He loves playing for the Flames. He wants to win with the Calgary Flames. And that's, before the 1,000th game celebration this week. That's current status of Nazem Kadri. But if this team flounders and you get closer to the trade deadline, who's to say Naz, where he's at in his career, doesn't go, this is a tough spot. And I don't want to be part of a renovation if you're using an R word. Right. I just don't have enough runway left here. And I want to win. And so there is opportunity for some minds to change. Maybe that's the owner's mind that changes. Maybe his mind is changed by Craig Conroy and the management group. And there's lots of voices, as you guys know, in that process. Maybe it's Kadri. We don't know. But when I talk about the core, I think we also have to be mindful here, guys. What are we talking about? I mean, from the outside looking in, I would include Rasmus Andersson in that core. But Murray Edwards ownership, these aren't dum-dums. I mean, they're looking at contractual situations. If you can't get a deal done, which it doesn't look like it's going to happen with Andersson, well, of course, that's a trade piece. So that core maybe isn't as large as some of the fan base is looking at.
Yeah. And of course, I'm having some fun with you. The other thing is, too, that, yes, it is November 7th. Now, I'm not a shrewd negotiator.
You sure aren't, Dean.
I have never done well for myself in any capacity when it comes to contracts or negotiating. But I do know this. If I had an asset, or if I had something that someone else deemed desirable, I would not come out, and I would probably try and steer away from,
subterfuge.
We're in a bad spot. I mean, we'd probably just we'd take anything.
Whatever you do.
Yeah, pennies on the dollar. No, I would try. Why would anybody? I love that. It's very important to me. There's different layers to it. And I think Craig Conroy, it's, oh no, we're looking to improve. Well, you want to send the message to your dressing room that you're trying to find help, that you're not just sitting on your hands doing nothing. Oh no, if there's a player on the market. No, we love him. It would take something pretty special, but no, we're not really. There are some games that are being played as well.
Yeah, to a degree, but I think we also have to be careful here. Let's look through a lens of ownership, and it's different than management or anyone else involved in the organization, because Edwards and company are looking at the new building coming, and probably have done their due diligence. I think we've talked about the whole Detroit remodel, rebuild, right? And I'm reminded of the conversation I had with Mark Chipman of the Winnipeg Jets. And before they extended Scheifele and Hellebuck, he did that research, and he talked to, other owners, high-level executives with clubs who have been through the dark of going through a full rebuild, and recognized in Winnipeg it just wasn't going to fly. You can't go through a 7-year, 8-year, 9-year rebuild. Now you look at the Detroit Red Wings, and Eisman and company are doing the McMahon strut because everything is clicking. But it took a decade to get there. And can Calgary sustain something like that? Probably not. Probably not. So, the owner is grasping on the pieces that he knows are going to keep his organization competitive. And a guy like Nazem Kadri keeps it competitive, and he's under contract. So why wouldn't you want to hold on tight and make sure? And it's not like he did this in a public forum, right? And he's probably somewhat annoyed that a guy like me found out about it, to be fair, but that's just the way the business is. I understand the angst from a fan base perspective, but I don't think there's anything wrong with the position of Murray Edwards or anyone else there.
Who runs the best operation? Florida's won. They're gone to the finals 3 years in a row. Yeah, but they were terrible. Even in one of the greatest destinations to live, nobody wanted to go forever. Tampa Bay, they've been good, but they were down and out a little bit for a while. Vegas has run a pretty tight ship. I'm look right. Like, who's been middling all along, and who's looks good? You know what I mean? Like, there has to be cycles of success to a certain extent. Boston was really good for a really long time. They might have been but I'm just you look at Anaheim. They look pretty damn good. Well, yeah, they were terrible.
Yeah, Dallas is another team that comes to mind, right? Yeah. Dallas is a team that kind of has gone through Carolina, but I think of Dallas, and hey, when you can now, granted, Mikko Rantanen was part of the trade, but when you can move a young piece like Logan Stankoven, right, then you know that you're a real well-structured organization, and they have that in Dallas. But Rhett, as you're talking about this and asking, the first team, with all due respect to the others, because there are so many well-run organizations, and the best run are the owners that are involved, but don't get in the way of their general managers and their hockey operations department from functioning the way you have to function, with a focus on long-term success. And I'm reminded of the Vegas Golden Knights when they broke into the National Hockey League, and nobody could have predicted they were going to be that good that quickly, right? But the owner there, Bill Foley, has told Kelly McCrimmon, George McPhee, the head of hockey operations here, you do whatever you got to do. I want to win a Stanley Cup every single year. It's impossible. Obviously, that's not attainable. But when you have that direction from ownership, and you're allowed to make calculated and creative hockey decisions, that can be a fun time, I think. But you got to dangle it out there every once in a while, as McCrimmon has. Yeah. And you have to have a destination of choice, which Vegas is. But for me, it's hard to top teams like Vegas, Dallas. I would throw Winnipeg in there as an outlier.
Is ownership like that in many spots? Sorry to cut you off a little bit there, but that is he's got lots of money, and he's got the destination, and he's got guys that are doing a good job for him. They're making some, are most owners, I think about Buffalo, and it's like, well, Pagula can't just, he's got the wealth to do it. Yeah. But if he's looking at it as some sort of business operation, they don't have the dough or the destination to just, hey, Like, is that, I'm sure that all owners want heads up. Hey, we're making a move, or we're trying to go this direction, or we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Is it rare to have that sort of or carte blanche a little bit?
A little bit rare, I would say. Sure. I think Colorado, I mean, every year this team is a top contender to win the Stanley Cup. And it's based on, obviously, on the players that they have. That's where it starts. But when you look at the bigger picture of the Colorado Avalanche, there's a team with one of the wealthiest owners, period. Not just in hockey, period, right? And yet they still operate more or less as a budget-sensitive team, right? So that's not necessarily financially, resources ways going all in. But as you're asking, like, I'm thinking, well, the league has done a good job, I think, of finally vetting out the problematic owners, right? Like, we had Bill Armstrong of Utah in Toronto this week. I wasn't able to attend, but I know he held court with some of the local media people here. And he wasn't making light of it. It was a statement of fact, and how it's near impossible to compare what the Utah Mammoth are now as compared to what Arizona was in a previous life, just from a resources perspective. And the fans out there are going, yeah, well, so they're not getting Wagyu as part of their pregame. No, that's nonsense. That's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about high-end creature comforts. For some organizations, that's part of it. But you just need the simple things inside a hockey operations department to function. And Ryan Smith has done that in Utah times 1,000, right? So any excuse has been eliminated. And that stuff kind of matters. So there isn't really a team. I hear horror stories about this owner or that owner, but none of that is resource driven. A lot of that has to do, honestly, with how competitive these men are. Yeah. They didn't become billionaires by being dum-dums. I mean, they're super good at what they do from a business platform, and they expect the same from their pro sports franchises. And when they don't get that, they get pissed off. And I get it. So I think the league has done a pretty good job of cleaning a lot of that up.
Yeah. I mean, I remember Ken King would always say, he's like, if you think there's a team or a general manager out there that is running with complete autonomy and carte blanche, he's like, you're fooling yourself. You run things up the flagpole, and there's just different levels to it. You've got Tom Dundon in Carolina, who feels not Jerry Jones level, but it feels like he's very much in the mix. And then,
no, he's Jerry Jones level.
Yeah. And then to your point, it feels like Foley is, if I'm in Bermuda and I've left my phone on the yacht, and you need to pull a deal immediately, then go ahead.
Yeah,
just let me know.
Yeah.
What's happening with the St. Louis Blues? Last year, the Flames and Blues finished tied with 96 points, and the Flames were the odd man out. Now here they are at the bottom of the league, and there are the St. Louis Blues. Doug Armstrong, was it last year? I think he had kind of thrown out we're open for business. It's time. And then they turned things around. Is that where we're at right now?
Yeah, I mean, full credit. I think, was it our pal Frank Saravalli who reported something about that earlier today?
Yeah, I think so.
Using that phrase, open for business. And I didn't see it, but obviously it crossed my desk, and I chuckled, because you're bang on. This is the playbook of Doug Armstrong, and I love it, because it was a year, maybe 2 years ago, when managers don't want to go into dressing rooms. They just don't. They don't mind talking to players on the bus, on the plane, in the hallway. General managers don't want to go into the room. But I think he did. Again, maybe it was last year, the year before. It doesn't matter, because St. Louis always seems to find a rut at some point earlier in the season. And Army basically went in at that point and said, I don't give a rat's what your contract protection is or what your deal looks like. I'm going to start moving bodies. And we're going to take this organization in a different direction. We've leaned on our experienced veterans, and if we can't do that anymore, then I'm shipping you out, and we're going young, and we're going to take it in the teeth for a while. And the team responded. So now you fast forward to where we're at, and the team has been inconsistent, and I think that's been complimentary. Yeah. They beat the Oilers earlier this week, and Jim Montgomery, I think after the game or around that game, said he felt like the team had played well the previous 2-3 games, and so they get rewarded. And then they lay another egg, right? And now Jordan Kyrou is partly to blame. So he gets parked in the press box, and everybody's going, ooh, geez, didn't see that coming. Well, Kyrou hasn't been up to form. He's not 100%. He knows that. His healthy scratch was unexpected. He didn't see that coming. But why wouldn't you do that with a player of that stature? And it's not like this guy's won a ton. You know, he's still more or less an up-and-comer, but they need to be able to squeeze more out of a guy like that. And when you do it with a player of that significance, you're sending the message to everybody on that bench. It's going to be you next. Like, wake up. Like, what are we doing? And so that goes hand in hand with Army talking to other general managers and saying, hey, you want to talk about a player? Let me know which player you're talking about, and I'll have a conversation. But again, history tells me, because I've been down this road 100 times with Doug Armstrong, he's one of the best at putting the bait out there. But he also, if we're talking Braden Shen as an example, and I carried water on that one 100 times last year, and Braden Shen drifted through the trade deadline. Nothing to see here. I saw him in Winnipeg. He was doing this workout in the pool, and believe it or not, you guys are going to be shocked. I was actually on a treadmill at the Delta. Well, I know. Yeah, I know. Shocking. I was on the treadmill, and he's doing a workout in the water. And he looks over and sees my fat carcass on the treadmill, and he just started shaking his head and giggling. And I don't know if he was giggling at me because it was post-trade deadline, he was in the playoffs, or is he laughing at me on the treadmill, or felt like he had a score to settle because I carried the mail on the possibility of Braden Shen getting traded right up to deadline day. So honestly, man, I think that's what it's all about. Whatever we're talking about, Braden Shen, other pieces, Kyrou, just name any Blues player you want. He wants penthouse value for these guys. That's what he wants. And he's not going to get it 15 games into the year.
Yeah. It's so we kind of, because we do a show every day, and you kind of have a take or an opinion, and you always have to preface it. Well, now I understand it's early and this is small sample size, but we're into November and it's 15 games in, and boy, the Penguins are winning some hockey games, and Montreal hasn't sagged. And like you said, Detroit is, I mean, they're 9-5, and the Anaheim Ducks are, you talk about a team that went through a long dip, but they went young and they bit the bullet, and now they look to be strong. Utah's come back a little bit. I guess of these teams that are mostly shocking to start the season, who's got the staying power to maybe be here down the stretch?
Oh, that's a good question. I do feel like Utah is more of a lower to middle of the pack team. I still think there's some growing pains there. And, you know, Chris Johnson reported on Insider Trading last night that Bill Armstrong's looking for a top 4 defenseman. He's looking for a center. Okay, good luck. I mean, what encourages that possibility is they have a good young. You're ready to go, Rhett?
We got 2. We got both.
Exactly
what you said.
Yeah, no, 100%. So, I mean, maybe there's a possibility there. Let's see how it all plays out. I mean, the reason that I take that sort of shopping list seriously is because I look at 2 teams. I look at Utah, I look at Montreal, I look at their young talent pool and what they have available that could sweeten the deal to make it make sense, right? And it's just too early for that. So I do think Utah comes back to the pack a little bit. Intrigued by Seattle. Whether or not that's a team that can hold its head up. I'm happy for Pat Verbeek and the Anaheim Ducks, only because they made some tough decisions there, moved out some really, really good players, brought in a decorated, very experienced coach, Joel Quenneville. You don't bring in Joel if you think that you're going to be a bottom feeder again. You just don't do that. But they're not done there either. So could Verbeek be an aggressive general manager that finds a way to bolster the lineup? And then we come back to Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Yeah, I'm surprised. I think they're overachieving. I don't think that they're overall this good, but maybe they can be if their Hall of Famers stay healthy. I mean, I did not expect Sidney Crosby would be tied for first place in goal scoring at this point, at any point of the regular season, yet there he is, right? So how much of any of it is sustainable? Don't know, but it just slaps you in the face one more time with just the parity that exists. You know, if you've got good players that get on a bit of a heater, you can make ground. You can make ground.
Yeah, it's funny that because it's Cutter Gauthier and Sidney Crosby tied for goals. They're 17 years apart.
Yeah.
Like it's so much a young man's league. You've got Celebrini tied for the league lead in points, and Gauthier's whatever he is, and then Sid still manages to get it done. Is there any kind of panic? Like those are the teams that are maybe overachieving. I mean, the Rangers, I don't know what the expectation is, but they're tied for last in the East.
Well, they could win a game on home ice. That would help. I mean, maybe again, I'll concede to Rhett here. I'm asked about this all the time on radio. I don't have an answer. I can't explain how this team can be that much better on the road than they are on home ice. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. Well, you're right. I don't think there would be a rational reason. I think it's more. I would. Yeah. From sitting here, I don't think those guys trust management.
Yeah.
I don't, because
the rug could be pulled at any moment.
I don't think they trust the management and what they're trying to do. I think that the talent pieces, you could argue, should be doing much better or worse. But I think there was so much disruption last year for no reason. It felt like to me. I'm not. Maybe there was tons of reason. Maybe it was a Vancouver situation. But they make all these changes after going to the semifinals, and it's like, what are we doing?
It's a fair point.
And there's a way of like you've been around. There's ways of doing it, but it felt very public and muddy and
it felt
gross how it was
personal.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
and not with throwaway players either, right? Like
no.
You're talking about Jacob Trouba, you're talking about Chris Kreider. Now more and more we're going to be talking about the future of Artemi Panarin. Like these are.
You're willing to treat your captain that way?
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a fair point. It's a fair point.
And again, if you want to get rid of your captain, there's ways to do it without being a public shit show. Like
I guess the counter to that, though, fellas, would be this. That's why you hire Mike Sullivan and give him a bazillion-dollar contract, right? Because, again, this guy's been there and he's done it all. If he can't close that door, his dressing room door, and say, boys, I don't know what went on here in the past. I mean, if you have issues with management, okay, but management isn't running this room.
I agree with you. I just don't know that he's ever had to handle that, and I don't know if any coach has had to handle it. If what were these rumors that I'm throwing out there might be true, I don't know. And I think Sullivan's a good, really, really, really good coach. But if you've never had to manage that part of, he was in Pittsburgh forever. He had guys that were, I feel like Sidney leads that, obviously. It feels like a fairly tight-knit group with a certain direction they want to go. And there's a level of professionalism, right? From management all the way down. This is a different situation. I actually feel bad for Sullivan. Like, big job, big money in the Big Apple. This is great. But
you could be right. Because I'll tell you, 5 games in, all right, the players are still growing accustomed to a different style from Mike Sullivan. Maybe the structure and systems and all of that, coach, blah, 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 is different and all of that. We're not 5 games in anymore, right? Like, whatever their identity is, we should know this.
You're professional hockey players. You know how to play the game, and whether coach wants you to play the trap or the 1-2, it's irrelevant. Yeah. Here's the last thing I'll say. I don't understand, and it's almost a cheap shot. How the F is JT Miller your captain? And the reason I say that is because if you're so disruptive on another team that the team has to dismantle, and you're the captain of the next team, I like how you play. I like your style. I think you're but something doesn't jive. You're either a team guy where you don't create issues and you're all in on success for your team, which makes you a good captain, or you're not.
Right.
You can't go from last year at this time in Vancouver being one of the biggest problem issues in the NHL to leading a team the next I'm the captain. That does not make sense to me.
Yeah, but and look, if the New York Rangers are challenging for top spot in the East or in their division, we're not having this conversation. right? They're not. They're not. So, the players and the captain do have to accept the responsibility of why they're not. And if there are distractions around that team, or they're still distracted by what management has done in the past, well, then ultimately that's on them. But there have been a lot of positive surprise teams. We've talked about them here in this segment, but the New York Rangers just continue to surprise me from a negative standpoint. Nobody seems to be able to answer why that is.
Well, thanks for being a good sport. I knew you'd be able to roll with it. We were just having some fun, and because you know what, as you sit here, and I get there's all kinds of fans. They want to win, they want playoffs, or this or that, and we just kind of have to sit here and run it right down the middle. We got to try and be as impartial as possible. But before, with Christmas coming, if you are interested, on our website, nationgear.ca, you can grab a Mission McKenna t-shirt.
Interesting.
It comes in black and white, different colors, and I think make a great Christmas gift.
Okay, I got a homework assignment for both you guys, because you're well-connected dudes, right?
Yeah, we love school.
Have we talked to anyone who has watched a fair amount of Gavin McKenna on Penn State this year?
I don't even know who that is.
Who?
Like this McKenna, this Mission. It's just a t-shirt.
It's just a Christmas gift.
I'm just curious.
So who is this you're talking about? Penn State?
We were
potential
access.
Draft pick. I don't know. That's your homework assignment, Rhett. I want you to watch.
I want you to watch.
My
kid was with the Tigers, so I got to see him last year with Willie.
That's different. That's in the Western League.
Yeah.
This is in the NCAA. And
are you suggesting there's challenges afoot?
Only in the sense that it is an adjustment, huge adjustment, to go from the Canadian Hockey League to playing against 20-something men. And there's growing pains. I got all
throw
the time
some math homework in there. I don't think he was. There was a lot of tutoring and a lot of class time. Down at the Co-op Place in Southern Alberta. I got Science 101 at 8. What?
Anyway,
that's going to be a good. I'm going to have that conversation with you.
Have a look.
That's going to play out and be interesting.
I think he's going to be terrific. Don't get me wrong, but I'm always intrigued by the jump and how hard that is. And this kid was lights out in major junior hockey. And you're playing against men. It's a different beast.
I'm intrigued. Well, you got to go. That's fine. One more
quickly. Yeah.
I'm intrigued when the schools will be able to come to a determination on whether this is worth it or not. And not that he's not good or bad or indifferent. And I don't know how much money he's getting, but there is a financial component to this, and you're losing him. It's a 1-year commitment.
I feel like there's too much meat in that bone. Do you got to go, Dregs? Because we could let you go.
I guess the short answer would be we don't know. And it's probably a 3 to 5 year process, honestly, before you know. And then, there's a number of good, really good teenage 14, 15-year-old kids making their way, but what are they going to look like at 17? We don't know that. To play in the NCAA, you've got to be a special talent, and McKenna is a special talent. But when you're talking about running away with first overall as an NHL draft pick, that's a different conversation. Need to see it.
Right on. Thanks, Dregs. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, boys.
Hey, buddies. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Also, if you could throw in a like and subscribe, it does help us out with what it is we are doing. And check out more at flamesnation.ca.